2018 Chevrolet Equinox 2.0T. When manufacturers aren't introducing brand new vehicles to fill the nooks and crannies that remain between segments, they're altering the sizes and shapes of existing models to better fit the boundaries that have solidified since those cars were first introduced. With the all-new 2018 Equinox, Chevrolet is doing the latter. The new Equinox has been downsized to more closely align with other compact SUVs such as the Honda CR-V, the Mazda CX-5, the Ford Escape, and the Toyota RAV4, and in the process the Chevy has become a much better vehicle. Chevrolet's previous generation Equinox, which debuted in 2009 and ran all the way through the 2017 model year, was nothing if not sedate. It served its purpose well enough but did so devoid of enthusiasm. Engines with peak torque high in the rev range paired with automatic transmissions that upshifted too early made for a lethargic combination on the road. The new 2018 model wants to suppress those memories with a revamped engine lineup. The base, turbocharged 1.5-liter inline-4 with its modest 170 horsepower might trigger flashbacks, but the optional 2.0-liter turbo that replaces the previous 3.6-liter V6 as the step-up choice has much more life. And it pairs with a new 9-speed automatic transmission that is smooth and well programmed. The 2.0's output reaches 252 horsepower at 5,500 revolutions per minute and 260 pounds-to-foot of torque at 2,500 revolutions per minute versus the previous V6's 301 horses at 6,500 revolutions per minute and 272 pounds-to-foot at 4,800 revolutions per minute. The lower power peaks make more sense for a small SUV that'll likely spend most of its time tooling around town. It's better when the oomph is easily accessible. Finger on the button. Boosted engines can have turbo lag, and, foot to the floor in the Equinox, there's a definite pause before the bowstring is released, and when it is, there's a noticeable amount of torque steer, because all-wheel drive Equinoxes like the one we drove default to front drive by decoupling the rear axle in the interest of fuel economy. If the car senses wheel slippage, it triggers an alert on the instrument cluster suggesting that the driver switch to all-wheel drive, which is accomplished by pressing a button on the center console. One need not come to a stop to engage the rear axle, and once the button is pressed, all-wheel drive will remain engaged even if the car is turned off and restarted. Engaging the AWD system also cures the torque steer, but in either mode the 2.0T feels legitimately quick, significantly more so than the 1.5T. The steering is nicely weighted with appropriate heft. There's a small amount of play on center, which can make for somewhat vague turn-in, but is good for relaxed freeway cruising. Yet the car responds faithfully to inputs without feeling disconnected. The new Equinox feels far more agile than before. The cabin is quiet, the sense of isolation enhanced by a chassis and suspension setup that's more refined than in the previous Equinox. There is a smidge of body movement, specifically some dive during hard braking, but overall the suspension is firm and well damped, largely keeping disturbances to a minimum. Pack and play. The new Equinox isn't knockout gorgeous. What small crossover is ? But the fresh styling imparts a restrained, handsome look, like a post-haircut Gordon Hayward. The headlights no longer encroach into the hood's territory, and the grille, which now features active shutters, is higher and wider. The redesigned face closely aligns the Equinox with new Chevy styling seen on the Cruze, the Malibu, and the Traverse. The rear similarly emphasizes width. The new model is only 0.9 inch lower and 0.1 inch wider, but it appears more squat. Stacked vertical taillights have been replaced by horizontal lamps that are visually connected by a full-width crease across the liftgate. The body sides get various creases and character lines, while the wheel arches are much less pronounced than before. The new model is 4.7 inches shorter in length, and the wheelbase is trimmed even more, shrinking by 5.2 inches. Chevrolet says the car is some 400 pounds lighter than its predecessor, but we'll need to put the Equinox on our scales to find out the true weight savings. Contrary to what might be expected, the smaller size does not mean a reduction in interior space. In fact, The new Equinox has almost exactly the same amount of total passenger room. Cargo volume with the second row seats stowed is about the same, while volume with the rear row up loses less than 2 cubes. The cargo floor, however, lifts to reveal a hidden compartment for smaller items, so we'll call it a Washington. Inside, where the previous version looked almost immediately dated, the redesigned model looks more timeless even while retaining the general T-shaped layout of the dashboard and center stack. There are more layered swoops and softly rounded corners, however, and the new Equinox stitches the trapezoidal infotainment housing and center air vents for a tablet-like screen embedded into the dash and surrounded by wing-like vents. Physical radio and VAC buttons, which are redundant to the touchscreen controls, are appreciated and are simple, straightforward, and easy to use. And smartphone integration is as effortless as it gets. Hip and equipped. If there's a downside, it's that the 2.0-liter model starts at more than $30,000 in front drive trim. You'll want all-wheel drive, which then bumps the price to nearly $34,000, and it's possible to push an Equinox 2.0T to more than $42,000. The available turbo diesel engine costs even more. That pricing puts it at the expensive end of its competitive set, and it's worth mentioning that just over $40,000 will get you a Mercedes-Benz GLC class, albeit one without options, a bit of a gamble from Chevrolet considering the nameplate's reputation for mediocrity. But with the 2.0-liter engine, the new Equinox is a major step up from its predecessor. And an Equinox buyer no longer needs to make excuses to those behind the wheel of crossovers like the Mazda CX-5 and the Honda CR-V. It simply does everything well enough to make just about any buyer happy.